in criminal. Good evening. Former APD officer Kenneth Skeens is facing criminal charges today, accused of using excessive force against a disabled man who was trying to check out at an Albuquerque Target last year. Skeens was fired from the job. The Attorney General's office released a video of that incident this afternoon and spoke with us about his decision to file those charges. Here's News 13's Natalie Wattis.
On August 19th, 2022, Officer Kenneth Skeens and two other officers approached the man, proceeded to drag him out of the store and handcuff him on the street. Skeens now faces 4 charges, including battery and false imprisonment.
I just think it's outrageous that a police officer who should be in a position to try and help someone who is clearly struggling and is clearly dealing with some challenges, as a customer in that store, would end up in a position really abusing their power and using, just really excessive force.
The Attorney General tells me they made the decision to file these charges to send a message to law enforcement and community members that they are holding people accountable. The video shows police walking up to the man, his money spread across the self-checkout counter. They tell him he's being detained and grab a bike he seems to be buying. As the man tries to explain himself, officers take him by the arms and drag him outside. Eventually, the man calls 911, seeming confused about whether or not they're actually police. Police take his phone and handcuff him at the direction of Skeens.
He clearly hadn't committed a crime. And in the absence of criminal activity, there was simply no justification for the officer to engage with him in the way that he did and to escalate the situation in the way that he did.
The AG says they don't plan on filing charges on the other 2 officers in the video, since Skeens was the one in control of the situation. In that same month, Skeens was also involved in a fatal shooting of Keyshawn Thomas at a gas station. Back to you.
All right, Natalie, thank you. APD told News 13 back in May that Skeens was fired for an incident unrelated to that shooting. The AG says he expects a preliminary hearing to be set for this case in the next few weeks.
They've been around.
Filed charges against a former Albuquerque police officer who took part in an unlawful arrest of a person with disabilities. According to the Attorney General's office, former Officer Kenneth Skeens played a role in the unlawful arrest of a person with disabilities who was struggling to complete a purchase at a retail store. Skeens has been charged with false imprisonment, perjury, and making a false report and battery.
All I gotta decent counter that I know that. He's trying to make sure that it looks like he's doing something. He's just trying to show time. And how he looks with these.
You know how they do that? They have that new show for SF, like SO's on a show now.
I'd get in so much trouble. They put him with me for one night and I get in trouble.
Oh,
Wait, you gotta turn that off and turn off. In the car mode. Okay, have the camera. Yep. Gotcha, you take your money. Go ahead and grab all your money. Let's walk out, okay? Take your money out. Do you want to walk us to walk you out or you want to walk? Go ahead and put your money out there. Put your money out, okay? You're coming with us, okay? You gotta go. Gotcha. Take your money out. You're coming with us now, okay? So go ahead and grab your money, sir. We'll be walking out, okay? Go ahead and put your money out. So we're going to take your money out. Do you want to walk us to walk you out? We're leaving, okay? We're going to put your money out there. You have to issue this criminal trespasses that you can't come back to the city, okay?
I was just getting my money out. I just was getting
Go ahead and grab your money, sir. We'll here's your money. Put it in your pouch.
Can I please
So we're going to grab the money for you, okay? Drop it
Can I
off.
please I got all the
We're
money.
leaving, okay? You're walking out, okay? And you're going to be identified, okay? You're going to be issued criminal trespasses. That's okay. Come back and walk out, okay?
I'm calling 911. I was just getting my money out. I don't want to lose it. I got my money. I'm calling 911. I'm calling 911. No, wait. I'm calling 911.
That's okay. You're walking out, okay?
I'm calling 911.
Walking out.
I got my no, I
Down, man.
I did do this. I'm calling 911. No,
Try to hit anyone.
I ain't hitting anyone. You're insulting me.
All right, can I do anything?
I'm not giving you any idea.
Identify yourself under arrest, okay? This is going to be.
No, you're not police.
Yes, we are.
You're not security.
Don't try to hit anyone.
I ain't
What's your
hitting
name,
anyone.
man? Sit down.
You're insulting me.
All right, can I do anything?
I'm not giving you any idea.
You don't identify yourself under arrest, okay? Which is it going to be?
You're not police.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
You're
we
out
are.
here.
No, you're not. You're security.
Oh, you get your pin and pad?
yeah, I do.
So what's your name, man?
None of your business.
All right, then you're under arrest. Go ahead, put your hands behind your back. Refusing to identify yourself, correct?
Who you calling, man? You ain't even. You ain't
He's
pressed
calling
call yet.
911. That's what he said anyway. So yeah, just go ahead and put him in handcuffs, because he's refusing to identify himself.
Okay, hold on.
I was just paying. I was just having my
Whatever,
stuff
I see.
locked in my family pack,
No, just go ahead.
and the security guards came. And I didn't take more time than anyone else. The other ones before me.
So now you're going to be charged, okay, with concealing identity, resisting officers, okay?
No,
And you're going to be trespassed, so you can never come back here again, okay?
Stand up.
No, that's not right. I was just paying my things.
Henry.
And I didn't know you were police officers.
Yes, we told you that already.
I didn't see your badge.
Okay. Well, we told you, right?
You
We all
what?
have badges. It's not our fault you didn't look, man.
We identified
Security
ourselves.
guards say they're
No,
police officers
We
all the
identified
time.
ourselves as Albuquerque Police. We
Let's go
had
ahead
a
and get
reason
him
to talk to you.
stood up and search.
The reason to talk to you was they didn't want you in there no
man.
more, okay? So we have the reason. We asked you your name. You didn't give us your name. That's
What was
concealed
the
identity.
reason?
They didn't want you there, and they have that right as the business not to want you there anymore. Okay? So what you need to do, we're going to help you stand up. We're going to put you in that patrol unit over there, okay? Sound good?
No, it don't sound good.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
Hey,
He
Stand
already
up.
hung the
I
phone,
didn't do nothing.
Come on.
Go ahead
Stand up.
and stand up, man. Take a step for me and stand up.
No, because I didn't do nothing. 911, help me, please.
No one's on the phone, man.
I think there are police officers right there.
No,
I didn't see their badge. I didn't know they're police officers.
Well, everything's on camera, just so you know. Everything is being recorded by our on-body recording devices, okay? So it's going to show that we identified ourselves as Albuquerque Police. We told you that why they didn't want you in there anymore. You became very resisting in the store and out
No,
here.
I didn't.
We asked
I
your
didn't.
name.
When you.
Okay,
when
sir.
you,
Well, you know what? I'm done
when
explaining.
you
I'm done
have,
explaining to you.
when you have
That's
manhandled
fine.
me.
I'm done explaining to you.
That's when I was
That's fine. You're under arrest.
because I didn't think you were. No, that one, my bag is even
They gotta come
alone.
off, man.
You can't take them to jail with you.
Did they come off at all?
Probably in the bathroom.
You,
They're tied.
I didn't
You're
do
gonna have to cut them off.
nothing.
You got a knife.
I have a knife.
No, you better not
We're
take
gonna
the.
have to get him standing up, so I'm not gonna.
Can you stand up, man? Are you gonna work with us at all? Because we gotta stand you up. You're under arrest. Okay, that's not changing now.
For what?
Concealing identity, resisting officers. Okay.
I didn't know you were police officers. How can
I told you.
conceal?
That's your own fault. You didn't listen. Okay. I can't help you with that. You don't want to listen. But
I didn't believe you were police officers.
Stand up. You didn't believe us.
You
Doesn't matter.
look like security guards.
Go over here.
No.
Don't resist anymore. Stop.
Just walk, man.
No.
Just walk.
No.
All right, we gotta search you. Okay. You got anything
please.
on you that's gonna poke
No.
us, cut us, or hurt us?
Yeah, I got a couple of knives.
You got a couple of knives on you?
Yeah.
Any needles?
I didn't do nothing. I was just about to pay my money in the automated system. I was putting my money in, and you came into, and you threw me out. You without even identifying you, and then you said you were
All right,
a police
sir.
officer.
Don't make movements, man.
Yeah, get those bags off you, man. Okay.
I can take them off. I'm the only
No,
one
we're
that
not
can take them
uncuffing
off. No, you're damaging my property.
That's fine, man. Like I said, we can't get them off of you. We have to cut them off.
I can get them off myself. Just let me.
This one's right here.
Just let me take it off myself.
Does it come off?
Just let me take it off myself. Will you please? Will you let me take it off myself? Will you let me take it off
We're
myself?
gonna get it off. Calm
Still
down.
tied. Sir, cut it.
I will take it off myself.
No, we're not letting you take them off, man.
A shocking turn tonight in the attempted murder trial of two white men accused of chasing and shooting at a black FedEx driver. The judge declaring a mistrial. Jesse Kirsch has details.
Tonight, outrage.
In Mississippi, a shocking turn tonight in the attempted murder trial of two white men accused of chasing and shooting at a black FedEx driver. The judge declaring a mistrial. Jesse Kirsch has details.
Tonight, outrage in Mississippi. A judge declaring a mistrial in the case of two white men accused of trying to murder DeMontario Gibson, a black FedEx driver who had just made a delivery.
And with great reluctance, the court has no choice in this matter but to grant the motion for a mistrial.
Gibson's mother escorted from court today after Judge David Strong's ruling, a day after a police officer admitted to withholding evidence. Brookhaven Police Detective Vincent Fernando saying under oath that authorities had taken a videotaped statement from Gibson, but did not share it with either the defense or prosecution, as was required.
The failure to turn over matters in discovery is just something that can't be ignored. In 17 years, I don't think I've ever seen it happen, but it happened here.
A mistrial is a major hiccup for the prosecution, but all in all, a second trial really saps the resources of the defense more than the state.
Brookhaven police have not responded to NBC News' request for comment. Gibson says in January 2022, he made a delivery in his FedEx uniform and was driving a Hertz van with the rental company's markings when Gregory Case and his son Brandon allegedly chased and shot at him. Gregory Case's attorney says his client only planned to ask the driver what was happening outside his mother-in-law's home, but the driver did not stop. Gibson believes he was chased because he's black. In a statement tonight, Gibson's attorney calling the mistrial a delay in justice, calling on the Department of Justice to investigate the Brookhaven Police Department. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
player because I saw a bunch of guys who didn't quite have the talent beat a lot of guys who had everything that I want year old kid. So that's what I'm trying to paint the message in this book right here to understand that you don't have to have someone save you and rescue you to go out and be successful. You got every tool under the school. And I think that's one of the, when you go into a locker room and your teammates don't think that you can learn a playbook, that weighs heavy.
Myself, no matter what it takes after a rough background. Is that the big one that you feel you were mislabeled as?
I think it took away the hard work and the dedication you have to get to know people.
Michael Oher joins us here in studio, author of the new book, When Your Back's Against the Wall. He wrote, I Beat the Odds. And you just said you feel like you've been mislabeled sometimes, misunderstood. And I think, at least from what I've read in the book, a lot of that stems from how you were portrayed in the movie The Blindside, and that people might have the wrong idea of your personality, number one, that you were this kind of shy wallflower, that you were timid and you had to be kind of like drawn out of your shell, when in reality, you were a workaholic, you were hyper organized, and you were like, damn it, I'm making something of myself no matter what it takes after a rough background. Is that the big one that you feel you were mislabeled as?
I think it took away the hard work and the dedication that I created from a child, and going to school in the 3rd grade, getting myself up. First one in the locker room, last one out. And I think the biggest for me is, being portrayed, not being able to read or write. 2nd grade, I was doing plays in front of the school. And I think that's one of the, when you go into a locker room and your teammates don't think that you can learn a playbook, that weighs heavy on someone, and you have to understand, I understand that the movie has given me a position. I'm honored to have the position it's given me, but, you have to understand, before I moved in with the family, I was an All-American. That's what I want the generations behind me to see in this book right here, to understand that you don't have to have someone save you and rescue you to go out and be successful. You got every tool in you. And this book right here is a playbook on life. Looking yourself in the mirror when I was 11, 12-year-old kid, telling myself, hey, everyone around you is even in an even worse situation that you're in. So you're going to have to get up and do this thing yourself, and developing a routine right then, when I could have given up at 11, 12-year-old, as an 11 to 12-year-old kid. So that's what I'm trying to paint the message in this book right here. And looking through everything that I went through and finding the positive in it.
And it wasn't that you don't have gratitude to the family that took you in. That's really
very
not the
grateful.
message.
Very grateful for every family that helped me throughout this journey. It's a lot of people that deserve a lot of credit. For me, I want to show the young people and everyone behind me that, hey, you deserve some credit for your hard work. You can get it done. And that's really the goal.
So for those that don't know, you grew up in a really difficult situation. No one in your family had aspired to really have a career. Many didn't want a job. The people that you were around didn't have anything to do most days. Poverty, homelessness, the projects in Memphis. You were just surrounded by a culture of there's really nothing to life. There's no way out. But you somehow figured out that you needed to see something else. I think you described it as like standing in front of an ocean when you walk to the edge of the projects, that there was a whole something out there that you had no idea about. How'd you gain a perspective in a cycle that usually doesn't allow that?
I think I was blessed with being on the streets from the time I was 3 years old, in and out of foster care from 3 to 10, on the streets for a year.
You were blessed.
Yes, on the streets for a year, after running away from foster home at 10 years old, and being placed in a mental hospital, and running away from there a few weeks later. And the state just gave up on me, gave back custody. And the struggles that I had early on, being in and out of homes, on the streets, I needed a routine. That's when I developed a routine, 11, 12 years old, going to school on my own in the 3rd grade. And from there on,
And your family, not to interject, but a lot of crack addiction amongst your family and your parents. You didn't know your
that was
dad.
the norm. That was the norm at the time. That's the way we grew up. But you grow up so fast, like I said, you understand what's right and what's wrong. So from that point on, when I started going to school on my own, I was going to do the right thing because I knew what the wrong thing was. And I
Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. Well, I happen to be free from the prison that's called banishment by YouTube. And I'm back on my regular channel, gboot2786, as of now. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting live edition of Random Topic Thursdays here on channel gboot2786 on Gavin Richard, our backup channel, as well as Facebook and Twitter, via Periscope, whoever you are, wherever you are. Hope your blessings doing safe. Shout out to CC, Mickey Major, Makia Major. We also got Darius from Atlanta, Danielle, Lamiko, a bunch of people that are in here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're going to bring in our special guest, ladies and gentlemen. But first, of course, if you would like to, you can donate to our channel. As you know, the channel is not monetized, so if you want to support, you can. I do this for you all because honestly, if I didn't get texts and calls asking about the show and so forth, I wasn't going to do a show tonight because I effectively, and I still want to step away from YouTube just from what I've had to deal with the last few months, years. We're going on a year actually, years actually, and I'm kind of tired of it. But you all keep me going, so I thank you. And speaking of a brother that keeps going and going, we're going to bring in Shawn James, the author of The Man Crisis, as well as The Woman Crisis in the John Haynes series. What's going on, Shawn? Good evening.
Good evening, Gavin. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are things up in the Boogie Down Bronx?
Warm.
Oh, welcome to the party. It's warm. It's hot down here. Welcome, welcome. So, also, guys, you can check out Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby on Amazon Kindle if you want to support my channel. Also, if you'd like to buy some Creole seasoning, try it on chicken, meat, or fish. And all this goes great with every dish, ladies and gentlemen. Shawn, let's get into it. Tonight, we've run into several topics. I was playing some videos. I don't know if you saw this, but I was talking, you did a video about this. We're going to start with the main thing, which was in my avatar that everyone saw the thumbnail earlier today. Michael Oher blindsided that he ain't related to the Tui family and has received no money. The former Ravens lineman, who was the subject of a film called The Blind Side that came out in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, that starred Sandra Bullock, was an Oscar-winning film because she won Best Actress. He has alleged that he was never formally adopted by the Tui family, the white couple and their children who took him in. As you were listening earlier, Michael Oher survived a lot of stuff on the streets of Memphis. He actually was homeless. He survived multiple things, you know, growing up in a rough neighborhood, a tough upbringing, losing his family, and supposedly was adopted by this white couple and their children, the Tui family. However, he learns that he was not formally adopted, but actually given under a conservatorship. Now, I'm going to explain to everybody, and disclaimer alert, this does not create an attorney-client relationship, but I'm going to tell you what's wrong with this. What is a conservatorship? I believe it's very similar to what we have in Louisiana called a curatorship, which typically happens, and I'm going to explain that. And some other things about it. But the main thing too, and Shawn, you've done a video on this, actually what Michael is alleging is that if you saw the video, one of the things he didn't like about the film was it portrayed him as being illiterate, which he has stated he actually was writing plays, learned how as a young boy. He said that it was hard for him to go into a locker room and think that the NFL players, his teammates, that he couldn't read. So the real life allegations, according to Baltimore Banner here, is that the Tui family never really formally adopted Michael Oher, which apparently is true because they had a conservatorship. So according to the movie's plot, he was homeless, intellectually challenged kid who never had a bed or played football before the Tuis literally pulled him off a rainy street in the dead of the night and saved him. Leanne Tui was interviewed by a writer for the Palm Beach Post in 2011, and she told me bluntly that if Oher hadn't joined her family, he'd be dead by now. But a probate court in Tennessee, a petition filed this week, holds that the conservatorship he believed was akin to an adoption actually made him not kin, but, quote, a financial hostage to who signed control over to Shawn and Leanne Tui. He claims that he has seen no money from the movie based on his life or from Michael Lewis's book, which would make this all a candy-coated lie, a fractured fable of white saviorism and predation disguised as altruism. Since the film came out, the Tuis have faced accusations of being an exploited family whose cinematic versions make them out to be more helpful than they actually were. Now, this is an adoptive mother who is writing this, and she says that as an adoptive mother, I know many believe people like me are high on a hero complex, making ourselves the lead characters in the stories of others' lives. My own story is different from the Tui's. My son was adopted from within my own family. We are both Black, and it was a real legal adoption, unlike Oher's. His allegations are tragic, not just because they approve the Tui's to be cynically greedy, but because it seems to have broken the heart of a man who thought he was part of a family, and he now believes saw him as a cash cow. And that's not what family is supposed to be. The Tui's family dispute Oher's assertions, which is true, that they made $8 million from their assorted deals, and say that since he was 18, formal adoption wasn't possible. Also, the real SJ alleges that Oher knew about the conservatorship, the same type of arrangement that allowed Britney Spears' father to control her money, career, and even her family planning for years. Now, I want to, and I think it's similar to a curatorship. Now, there is such 18, and there was no formal adoption. Now, I don't know the laws in Tennessee, but I know in Louisiana, we actually do have something called adult adoption. An adult can be adopted, ladies and gentlemen. That's true. In the state of Louisiana, you can be adopted by another person. There are documents and there are ways you can actually do that. I've actually knew a friend who was formerly, his parents had died, and he became close with someone I interviewed for my book, Miss Clotilde Mack, the late beautiful soul, Clotilde Mack and Irvin Jones, my friend, late Irvin Jones, who, God, I miss him. He was, he met her. They became close through me, and she loved him and like a son, and she never had children of her own. She adopted him, and it was approved. So that happens. But they're hitting back, the family's striking back at Oher's allegations, saying he knew about this. In fact, in one of Oher's book from 10 years ago, he bluntly points out, and it's in there, that the families were going to get a legal conservatorship. But I think the flip side of this, ladies and gentlemen, you got to realize this, is that Michael Oher at that time was a teenager, 18. You think that an 18-year-old kid knows the law, knows what a conservatorship is, or curatorship or adoption? He thinks they're the same. No one clarified that for him. And as the adults, if they are adopting him and they cared and loved him, here's my point, they would have informed him exactly what is going on so that he could have a better understanding of it. The movie studios are the ones that made, the movie studios who made $300 million. Michael Lewis, it's my understanding, he only got, I believe, $125,000 from the book, for the rights of it. But yeah, do I think Michael should have gotten some money? Yeah. But Hollywood has created that white saviors complex. They have that in these movies. From you remember that, Shawn Webster?
Yeah.
Now they're hitting back, and they're hitting back. The lawyer is hitting back, saying Michael got paid half the money. They gave him $250,000. He got half of it. So the family lawyers also said there's not going to be a settlement. They also accused him, I think, allegedly of trying to shake him down for money. Talking about Michael. So I don't know who to believe with this thing, but do I think it's true that they took advantage of him? Listen, this lady has been accused, Mrs. Toohey has been accused, I know, of trying to be this white savior. I saw an incident a few years ago when she went up to some black kids and saw them and thought they were up to no good, talking about how she paid for their food and tweeted and put it on live on Twitter or something like that. And the kids clapped back saying, no, that's not what happened. Go look that up. But I just want to play this clip. And the Blindside actor, also Quentin Aaron, he defended Sandra Bullock because they're now trying to take Sandra Bullock's Oscar. There's some people saying she didn't deserve it, but that's not going to happen because Hollywood is based on make-believe. But I want to play this clip.
Is speaking out about the controversy that erupted this week when the real Michael Oher claimed the story told in The Blind Side was a lie.
We want to know if you would like.
Michael Oher is now saying he never adopted him as everyone thought. He claims in his lawsuit that the Tooheys tricked him into becoming his conservators, making them have control over his money. What is your reaction to what he's alleging?
I wasn't expecting that. I think a lot of people, myself included, again, had such high hopes for the family and that union that we felt they had put together.
Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for playing Leanne Toohey. But now some people on social media are actually calling for Bullock to return her Oscar.
Can you tell me what you think about
this call by some for Sandra Bullock to return her Oscar.
She was an actress who did her part and was recognized for it.
Michael Oher, who went on to become an NFL star, also says he resented how the movie made him appear less intelligent.
I didn't know who Michael was before The Blind Side. It wasn't my intention to make him look that way, and I'm sorry that he took it that way.
Lawyers for the family say they are stunned by Oher's actions, which they say are designed to drum up publicity for his new book.
The Tuohys treated him like a son. They loved him. They don't need his money. They've never needed his money. Mr. Tuohy sold his company for $220 million.
The Blindside movie grossed $309 million.
I knew it was coming. I mean, it was a matter of time. I was surprised that it happened the way it did.
Shawn Tuohy and his son, SJ, whom he shares with his wife, Leanne, speak out after Michael Oher filed a lawsuit against them.
You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me.
On Monday, Shawn Tuohy Jr., who goes by SJ, opened up to Barstool Sports, saying this lawsuit was a long time coming.
I think when he stopped playing and everything kind of settled down, I think it built up over time for him.
Michael and the Tuohy family inspired the 2009 film The Blind Side after they took in the football star when he was young.
I'm a proud mother, obviously. I think I birthed him.
I want you to do whatever you want. It's your decision, Michael. It's your life.
The couple was played by Tim McGraw and Sandra Bullock, who won an Academy Award for her role.
I love stories about passion and love, love of country, love of people, love of sport. It makes a good film.
I think that Sandra did a great job portraying me in it.
According to the 14-page filing, Michael's legal team claims he was manipulated into making the Tuohys his conservators less than 3 months after he turned 18 in 2004, a legal term the public's well-versed in thanks to Britney Spears. Her 13-year conservatorship ended back in 2021.
What does she want to do once this conservatorship ends?
For the first time in about 13 years, that decision will be up to Britney and only Britney. And that's a great thing.
In the lawsuit, Michael claims he only learned in February that the documents he was asked to sign by the Tuohys under the belief that it was part of the adoption process were actually conservatorship papers that would strip away his legal rights.
If he says he learned that in February, I find that hard to believe. I went back to my text back in 2020, 2021 that they were like, if you guys give me this much, then I won't go public with things. I think everyone learned in the past year about the conservatorship stuff because of Britney Spears, so maybe that's the case.
Like Britney, Michael believes he lost money as a result of the conservatorship, alleging the family earned millions of dollars in royalties from the movie that he never received, and they continue to profit off his story. But SJ denies all that, claiming he's made just $60,000 to $70,000 over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. And in an interview with the Daily Memphian, SJ's dad says the family is devastated and adds that the allegations are upsetting, but they are going to love Michael at 37, just like they loved him at 16.
It wasn't like there was an agenda. He had a need. We recognized it.
Now Michael is asking the court to end his conservatorship and bar the family from using his name and likeness.
When you worked as hard as I did, man, to have the credit go to somebody else, it rubs me the wrong way,
Some people online are pointing out the timing of the lawsuit, claiming it was tied to the release of his book, When Your Back's Against the Wall, Fame, Football, and Lessons Learned Through a Lifetime of Adversity.
Truthfully, I read the book. I was a purchaser of the book. I supported it. There's good truth in there. I don't know, coincidence or not. I mean, it seems obviously tough timing.
But SJ says he still considers Michael his brother.
There's not going to be any legal dossier or thing that happens. It's going to maybe go like screw that guy. It's not the case. I understand the anger, and I hope that it'll play out. There's nothing to hide, which makes it easier. But it's going to stink publicly, and a lot of people are going to have opinions on it.
So that was the video. That was from Entertainment Tonight. Let me just say this. Like in Louisiana, we call this a curatorship. Curatorship happens when a person, let's say, who is, and I've done these, needs to be interdicted. They can't make decisions for themselves. They are sick, mentally challenged anyway. Then they appoint someone to represent them that will watch over their finances, their affairs, handle things for them. Those things happen. And some situations, if it's a person who is not an adult, it's a kid, we call that a tutorship, where a tutor will be appointed to represent a minor's property, a minor's best interest, like a natural tutor, which would be a parent, and then the opposite. They have things like a dative and notarial tutor, people that are appointed via wills and so forth, some that are judicially appointed by the court. Those things happen. So Shawn, and I can tell you as a lawyer, I don't think this young man probably had an attorney. Well, he was my age at the time. I don't think he had an attorney looked out for him. Certainly don't think the family explained in clear detail what that is, because conservatorship is not an adoption. I think they just brought him in the house and treated him like a son, but with no legal ties.
Yeah, I would say that to be true. And what we have here with this young man is we have a guy who basically made the biggest mistake that many black men make, and that is going out here and trusting white folks. That was the big mistake that I believe Michael Oher made in this whole situation, was he invested his feelings in these white folks, not understanding that the relationship they wanted to have with him was all about business. Now, they saw the talent and potential he had as a football player and wanted to see if they could go out here and find a way to make money off him as related to him being in the NFL and as related to his long-term wealth. Because when it comes to white folks, they only think about a black person in some cases as property, and they think of them as a wealth-building asset. And that's what happened here that got things really twisted as related to Michael Oher. He got things twisted because he invested feelings in these white folks, and they were basically seeing him just like the slave master used to see a slave on a plantation as a piece of property they could go out here and make money on. And that's what they saw him as just like the slave master used to see the slaves who they saw could go out here and were very good with their hands as related to bare knuckle boxing or wrestling. They could go out here and make some money off of this slave. And that's what they were basically looking to do with Michael, or getting him to invest his feelings into things without ever thinking about the whole business aspect of everything. And because he was spellbound, he trusted these white folks, and he thought that they actually loved him and were going to look out for him. But in actuality, all they were looking out for were their economic interests. And that was shown by them saying that they wanted to give him a conservatorship instead of an adoption, which is a disrespect that was done to Michael Oher. I mean, this was disrespect directed at him, because if this family truly did care about him, they would have adopted him and allowed him to have the same autonomy as their own biological children, and would have allowed them to have a part in the inheritance of the family. But that wasn't the case at all. No, what they wanted to do was send a message to him that he was property. But sadly, Michael Oher possibly was so caught up in his feelings, he wasn't critically thinking about going out here and getting a lawyer to explain to him the difference between a conservatorship and an adoption. Because the statement of conservatorship basically was, again, a disrespect directed at him, but he couldn't see it. They were saying that he was not competent and capable of caring for himself or caring to take care of his own money. And they felt, in their paternalistic view, they needed to take care of his money and take care of him. And really, they wanted to go out here and profit at his expense, because they saw that there was a long-term payday as related to his wealth. And that's what happened here with Michael Oher. And now he wants to sue, but I don't think he has a strong case, because with this whole case, he was 18 years old, he was of sound mind, and he didn't really go through the process as related to a psychological evaluation to prove his incompetence. He basically signed a lot of these agreements, and he is basically tied to these agreements because he was of sound mind. Now, there is an argument that said that, oh, that he's possibly doing this for marketing his book, and that might be a possibility. But I really look at this whole agreement. He's been in this agreement for over 16 years, and now he wants to overturn it. But the whole problem is that he basically, again, signed this of sound mind. And there's a other problem here as related to this whole situation. You have people saying Sandra Bullock needs to give up her Oscar. No, that's not the case at all, because when it comes to screenplays, it's adaptation, and it's an adaptation based on that story. So the Sandra Bullock doesn't have to give up any Oscar at all. But as related to this whole adaptation, that's where they went out here and took these racist liberties with this story, with the two Hoys, making them out to be these great white saviors, and also made Michael Oher into this big dumb brute. Again, this is Hollywood doing what Hollywood does. But what really is the saddest part of this case is that Michael Oher basically was played because he was too spellbound, looking to find acceptance from white folks. And the white folks, yes, they did let him into their family, but they didn't accept him as a part of the family. They showed him no respect at all. And sadly, he's learning the hard way that when you're black, you're just out here on your own.
Right. Yeah. And I think he, being a kid, like I say again, didn't think of this stuff, didn't know this was going to happen. I think he trusted these people,
That was the mistake he made. You never trust white folks.
But he's a teenager.
Yeah, teenagers. I was a teenager. I learned not to trust white folks.
Yeah, but your kid living off the streets, they enticed him, I'm sure, with coming to live with them in a nice house, mansion with a car, and he felt welcome by it. Yeah, it's a shame, but this is a life lesson also. If anything, read your contracts, understand them. If you have problems and don't understand, it's okay to go to a lawyer, pay them. Don't be afraid to pay, black people. You got to put up money. We got
better to pay than watch somebody else get paid.
Pay now better than pay later.
Yeah,
it's one of those examples. But yeah, they took advantage of a teenager. That's what I think. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that was Michael Oher. I want to hit that notification bell as well. Now, I want to talk about this next story. You all saw me talking about it in the video. This happened earlier today. A mistrial had been declared in the attempted murder of a black FedEx worker. According to MSNBC News, judge declared a mistrial in a case of two white men who fired at a black FedEx driver one day and the reason why the mistrial was granted because the officer, one of the detectives, admitted to withholding evidence. So I'm gonna replay this video because I don't know if Shawn caught it or is familiar of it, but let's talk about these men who shot at this FedEx worker. So what you had here was that this happened in Brookhaven, Mississippi, is that Brandon Case and his father, Gregory Case, and that sounds familiar, were charged with attempted first-degree murder, conspiracy, and shooting into a vehicle when a FedEx driver by the name of DeMontario Gibson was finishing a delivery at a home. Gibson was not injured, but the chase and gunfire led to complaints on social media of racism in Brookhaven, about an hour's drive south of the capital, Jackson, Mississippi. Judge David Strone issued the mistrial because during trial, testimony was given by a detective, Vincent Fernando, who acknowledged that under oath that while the jury was out of the courtroom, that he had not previously given neither the prosecutors nor the defense attorneys a videotaped statement police had taken from Gibson. The judge said the officer also improperly testified about guns found in the home of one of the men on trial and shell casings found on the outside the home. Defense attorneys requested the mistrial, and Strong said he had no choice but to grant it. In 17 years, I don't think I've seen it, the judge said of the errors. Now, what you saw also, or may have heard in the video, and you're going to hear it again, is Gibson's mother, Sharon McClendon, who obviously was not happy with the decision, and you'll hear it right here. Hold on. So that's Gregory Case, and that's Gregory Case, and that's Brandon Case. So let's play the video.
Mississippi, a shocking turn tonight in the attempted murder trial of two white men accused of chasing and shooting at a black FedEx driver. The judge declaring a mistrial. Jesse Kirsch has details.
Tonight, outrage in Mississippi. A judge declaring a mistrial in the case of two white men accused of trying to murder DeMontario Gibson, a black FedEx driver who had just made a delivery.
And with great reluctance, the court has no choice in this matter but to grant the motion for a mistrial.
Gibson's mother escorted from court today after Judge David Strong's ruling, a day after a police officer admitted to withholding evidence. Brookhaven Police Detective Vincent Fernando saying under oath that authorities had taken a videotaped statement from Gibson, but did not share it with either the defense or prosecution, as was required.
The failure to turn over matters in discovery is just something that can't be ignored. In 17 years, I don't think I've ever seen it happen, but it happened here.
A mistrial is a major hiccup for the prosecution, but all in all, a second trial really saps the resources of the defense more than the state.
Brookhaven police have not responded to NBC News' request for comment. Gibson says in January 2022, he made a delivery in his FedEx uniform and was driving a Hertz van with the rental company's markings when Gregory Case and his son Brandon allegedly chased and shot at him. Gregory Case's attorney says his client only planned to ask the driver what was happening outside his mother-in-law's home, but the driver did not stop. Gibson believes he was chased because he's black. In a statement tonight, a delay in justice. Department of Justice to investigate Police Department. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
All right. So you heard that story, Shawn. I can tell you also as a defense attorney that that was the right decision. If there is evidence that is not turned over to the defense, especially what we call exculpatory evidence, then what would have happened is, had those men been found guilty, and then it came out evidence was withheld, they would have been able to appeal this case and win, or get a new trial, one or the other, because that is a Brady violation. Now, I don't think it amounted probably to the Brady violation just because they said on the defense attorney said, I'm sorry, not the defense attorney, I apologize, I'm messing up. The witness said, the detective, that neither the prosecutors nor the defense attorneys got this evidence. So a mistrial had to be declared. Now, this county, ladies and gentlemen, D.D. Bates is the district attorney. And he said he did in the 14th district. He says he disagrees with the decision, but nevertheless, it was granted. Shawn, what do you think of this decision and what happened?
Well, technically, it's the right decision as related to rule of law, but I have to wonder if there was a fix in with the prosecutor and the police, because I just find it interesting that you have a police officer who doesn't bring this evidence to the district attorney and conveniently loses an interview. Now, this is the kind of behavior that beta males participate in, where they go out here and forget or lose documents or lose recordings like here. And this is done, again, passively to talk about how you are just made a mistake, but aggressively it is done so that people like these two white males can get off on a technicality. Now, the evidence here was solid as related to possibly an open and shut case, so they look to use this technicality to buy these guys some time so that they won't have to go to prison for the crime that they possibly have committed. So I'm looking at this mistrial, and it's really sounding real suspect, and it's looking like there may be some possible collusion between the police and the prosecutors to kind of get these guys off. And that's where we really, again, need some federal charges so that there won't be any sort of fix in, because it's looking to me like on the state level, there was a fix in as related to trying to get these guys off. So they're looking to use technicalities to get them off because they know that the evidence is overwhelming that these men did this. And again, we've got to be vigilant as related to these cases. As Black people, we cannot take anything for granted, because it looks like we've got a shady Hispanic detective and a shady prosecutor. And this is why Black people have to keep turning on the heat like we did with Ahmaud Arbery in order to get justice. We've got to keep the heat on to let them know that they're not going to get away with this type of crime or trying to use finesses and technicalities of law to get away with these types of crimes.
Yeah, I thought, prosecutors work very closely with police officers, so I found it very interesting that a DVD of the interview with the suspect, one of the defendants, was not made or given to them. I don't know how that happened. The judge even said in 17 years he's never seen anything like this. I believe the feds should get involved and take a look at it. The Justice Department should review the relationship between the prosecutor's office and the police department. I also think federal charges might be warranted, because if this is a racial event, then this could be a potential hate crime. Should be. I find it interesting.
Very interesting. It just seems like there's a plan to try to fix this case.
Yeah. Oh, well, I want to thank Cheryl Massey for her donation. Thank you, dear. I appreciate it. Anyone else that wants to contribute to this channel, you are free to do so. As you know, it's not monetized. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, the fix. Someone thinks the fix is in. A lot of people think that. Yeah, it was just convenient, and the mom was frustrated, obviously. But you imagine, and you saw the picture of the bullet hole in one of the boxes. You are doing your job. You're delivering packages and dropping them off, and you're in another truck and leaving, and someone stops you who have a gun, and they allegedly shoot at you. And the bottom line is that these are not police officers, number one, when they approached his vehicle. He doesn't have to talk to your ass. There's no law requirement. I got to speak to you. If I see you passing on the street and talk to you, if I choose to engage in conversation, that's voluntary. I don't have to speak to you if you're not an officer, if I'm not under arrest. Be careful, brothers, because open season is here. That's right, Coastal Peach. But thank God he wasn't hurt. Yeah, he was being hunted. He was being followed.
It was the same thing that they did to Ahmaud Arbery. You got these suburban commandos who want to call themselves patrolling their neighborhood. Really, they want to terrorize Black people, and they want to send a message to Black people that if they come in their neighborhood, this is what can happen to them. So this was a form of terrorism. These guys, again, were basically, they know that they were in the wrong. They know that they according to law, they had basically violated this man's civil rights and attempted to murder him. So this was an open and shut case, but they wanted to find a way out for these guys. And again, this is another case of white supremacy trying to finesse things because they're white and they say so, to keep these white men from being accountable for the crimes they actually committed.
They also say Fernando, who was a Brookhaven police detective, testified that a truck stop security camera video recorded a white van being followed by a pickup truck at 7:31 p.m., 14 minutes before Gregory Case called police. A police dispatcher testified that Case called first, reporting he had seen a suspicious vehicle near his home, and the van almost ran him over. Audio of the call was played in court, with Case saying he wanted to know who owned the van and he thought the driver was up to something that wasn't good. Gibson called shortly thereafter, reporting that someone shot at the van while he was delivering a package. Fernando said phone records showed calls between the father and son's phones were made that evening before Gregory Case called the police. Stubbs questioned Fernando repeatedly, Stubbs is Gregory Case's lawyer, about whether an average person would try to find out what's happening if they saw a strange vehicle near their home. All Mr. Gibson had to do was stop and say, "Hey, I'm a FedEx driver." He was in a Hertz van with a Florida tag, Stubbs said. Fernando replied, "The average citizen should call the police department and ask for help." But here's the thing, officer. Gibson didn't have to talk to these men. They're not cops. That's the issue. We don't need commandos in the neighborhood asking what you're up to. If you're dropping something off, if you saw him breaking in a house, your neighbor's house, and you saw that going through a window, that's different. He dropped off a package. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Now, last thing I want to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is the douche. Is a sad story, but I want everybody to put this hashtag in. I want you to say hashtag douchebag of the year, because we got that going on right now.
Douchebag. He's Mr. Douchebag of the year. Look at him smile, look at him shine. He's the douchebag of the douchebag.
The douchebag of the year. That goes to courtesy of a superhero movie, by the way. The douchebag of the year goes to New Mexico cop Kenneth Skeens, who's 28 years old. Now, this is our last topic. 28 years old, a police officer since June of 2018 was fired in February of this year when his superiors decided that his arrest of a handicapped man was unlawful and abused his power. Now, in addition to that, he faces several charges, including false imprisonment, filing a police report, perjury, and battery. Now, I'm going to play this video. I was playing it earlier, and it was very difficult to watch because you had a handicapped individual who apparently was at Target. Now, they don't give it the man's name, but you'll see he was at Target buying his items. He had his money. And Target apparently called the police on this gentleman because they said he was taking too much time. Literally. Now, I've never heard of a crime known as taking too much time. Impeding if you're talking about jaywalking or you're talking about impeding traffic, yes, stuff like that. But they were uncomfortable at the fact that a man who had money and was paying it was taking his time at the self-checkout. And I got to get on Target for a minute because Target could have handled the situation much differently. If you've ever been to any grocery store especially if they do self-checkout. There's usually a person who will help and assist if you have difficulty. There's usually a cashier there. And what we have here was these employees who obviously never saw handicapped people before. Now, Target is one of those stores, as you know, Shawn, that's very, I would say, they lean very far to the left. Is that a fair assessment?
I would say that.
Especially with you know who. I'm not gonna name the group, but just put the alphabets together and you get it. They're very lenient with that. In fact, they've changed bathroom policies to benefit them, right? So, and they're also holding themselves out as being welcoming and warm, accepting people of all backgrounds. We have someone who is mentally challenged, who was buying your items, and yet you called the police on him because you didn't want him there anymore. So the Attorney General of New Mexico, his name is Raul Torres, said today my office filed charges against former APD officer Kenneth Skeens for his role in the unlawful arrest of a customer with disabilities who was struggling to complete his purchase at a Target located in Albuquerque, New Mexico in August of 2022. The AG accused the officer of abusing his power and using excessive force. He added, I think it's just outrageous that a police officer who should be in a position to try and help someone who is clearly struggling and is clearly dealing with some challenges, you know, as a customer in that store, would end up in a position really abusing their power. Now, this officer was also involved in a deadly shooting in Albuquerque, shooting a man at a gas station. He was involved in the death of Keyshawn Thomas, who was a black man who was in his car at a gas station last August. He was shot by the cops because they claimed he had a weapon. Of course, the Attorney General is stating that he's not charged with the crime regarding that at this point. But he was one of the officers who shot a dead black man in his car at a gas station. Now, they said that, and just to be fair for those that are wondering, I will put this story in the chat so you can read it. But they say that a gun was found, for those that are interested. A gun was found in the driver's area of the vehicle. Officers Marcos Flores, Dustin Ketchum, and Kenneth Skeens swiftly fired a total of 16 rounds at Thomas, who lay still in the driver's seat of the Camaro with the door ajar. So is this the man that they saw and shot? Now,
Can I walk to my car? Is that okay? Yeah, I'll walk it there. I do have a light and then my phone. There's a weapon in my trunk.
they said there's a weapon in his trunk, but they said it's in the driver's side, according to this article.
Grab your phone and come back out. Good. Keep your windows down.
Okay, I don't want to play any more of it. But this is what happened with this cop. So he's been charged. But Shawn, I want you to watch this video. It's sad to watch, but this is
The
what
New Mexico Attorney
happened.
General's office has filed charges against a former Albuquerque police officer
I'm going to
who
show
took
part
part
of it.
in an unlawful arrest of a person with disabilities. According to the Attorney General's office, former Officer Kenneth Skeen played a role in the unlawful arrest of a person with disabilities who was struggling to complete a purchase at a retail store. Skeens has been charged with false imprisonment, perjury, and making a false report and battery.
All I gotta have is just permission that you guys want to stop. He should count it. He's trying to make sure that like it's like he's doing something. He's just trying to kill time. And how you know 2 weeks.
You know how they do that? They have that new show for SO, like SO's on a show now.
I'd get so much trouble. They put him with me for one night and I'm getting trouble. Oh, well, you gotta turn that off and we're not in the farm. Can't have the camera. Good. Gotcha, you take your money. Go ahead and grab all your money and walk out, okay? Take your money out. You want to walk this to walk you or you want to walk? Go ahead and put your money out. You want to move this mic, okay? Just coming with us, okay? You gotta go. Gotcha. Take your money out. You're coming with us now, okay? So go ahead and grab your money, sir. We'll be walking out, okay? Go ahead and take your money out. So we're going to grab your money out. You want to walk us to walk you out? We're leaving, okay? And we're going to get your money out, okay? You have to issue this criminal trespass so you can't come back and see this anymore, okay?
I was just getting my money out.
Go ahead and grab your money, sir. We'll get your money. Put it in your pouch. So we're going to grab the money for you, okay?
Can I please? I got all the
We're
money.
leaving, okay? Walk down, okay? And you're going to be out there, okay? You're not going to issue criminal trespass. That's okay. Come back and walk down, okay?
I'm calling 911. I was just getting my money out. I don't want to lose it. I got my money. I'm calling 911. I'm calling 911. I'm calling 911. I got my no, I did do this. I'm calling 911. No, I ain't hitting anyone. You're talking to me. You're not giving me any idea. No, you're not police.
We just heard this asshole say that if you don't give us any ID, you're getting arrested, right? Everybody see something's wrong with this man. And 3 men with guns on their waist who are trained to help people, who know how to do CPR when people are just in duress. Can't see that.
You're talking to me.
All right, you got an ID on you, man?
You're not giving you any idea.
You don't identify yourself under arrest, okay? Which is it going to be?
You're not police.
Yes, we are.
No, you're not. You're security.
Oh, you have your pin and badge? Yeah, I do. So what's your name, man?
None of your business.
All right, then you're under arrest. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back. Refusing to identify yourself, correct?
Who you calling, man? You ain't even. You're
He's calling 911. That's what he said anyway. Yeah, just go ahead and put him in handcuffs. He's refusing to identify himself.
Okay, hold on.
I was just paying. I was just had my stuff locked in my fanny pack, and the security guards came
I didn't take more time than anyone else. The other ones before me.
So now you're going to be charged with concealing identity, resisting officers, okay?
No,
And you're going to be trespassed, so you can never come back here again, okay?
Stand up. No, that's not right. I was just paying my things. I didn't know you were police officers.
Yes, we told you that already.
I didn't see your badge.
Okay, well, we told you, right?
You
We all have badges. It's not our fault you didn't look, man.
Security guards say they're police officers
We
all the
identified
time.
ourselves as Albuquerque Police. We
Let's go
had
ahead
a
and get
reason
them
to talk to you.
split up and search.
The reason to talk to you was they didn't want you in there no more, okay? So we have the reason. We asked you your name. You didn't give us your name. That's
What was
concealed
the
identity.
reason?
They didn't want you there, and they have that right as the business not to want you there anymore. Okay? So what you need to do, we're going to help you stand up. We're going to put you in that patrol unit over there, okay? Sound good?
No, it don't sound good.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
Hey,
Stand up.
I didn't do nothing.
Stand up. Stand up, man. Take a step for me and stand up.
No, because I.
Now I'm pissed just watching this shit. And no, these other officers that were with him, they were not arrested. They were not charged. They needed to be fired along with him. This is not enough. They only, and according to the Attorney General, he said the reason why they were not fired was because they were following the orders of schemes. But hell, they all got brains, man. Supposedly.
I didn't do nothing. I don't want to help me, please.
Fired.
No one's on the phone.
This fat fuck, this dumb fuck, and this super asshole fuck. All of them. I'm pissed off.
I think there are police officers right there.
No,
I'm with him. Yeah, that was right.
I didn't see their badge. I didn't know they're police officers.
Well, everything's on camera, just so you know. Everything is being recorded by our on-body recording devices, okay? So it's going to show that we identified ourselves as Albuquerque Police. We told you that why they didn't want you in there anymore. You became very resistant in the store. And
No, I didn't.
Okay, sir. Well, you know what? I'm done explaining. I'm done explaining to you. That's fine. I'm done explaining to you. That's fine. You're under arrest.
Because I didn't think you were. No, they were my bag. Leave them
They gotta
alone.
come off, man.
You can't take them to jail with you.
Did they come off at all?
Probably in the back. They're tight.
I didn't do nothing.
You got a knife?
I have a knife.
No, you better not take
We're gonna have to get him standing up, so I'm not gonna
Can you stand up, man? Are you gonna work with us at all? Because we gotta stand you up. You're under arrest. Okay, that's not changing now.
For what?
Concealing identity, resisting officers. Okay.
Concealing identity and resisting officers. This it is not enough that Kenneth Schemes was fired and charged. All of these officers, each and every one of them. Flores, I don't see, what's his name here too? Looks like, let's see if we could get a closer look from the body camera. All of them need to be fired. This was wrong.
My money, my private property.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna get gloves and check his bags.
Shawn, you can go ahead and talk, man.
Well, I have to wonder who really has the disabilities, this unfortunate young man who was arrested by the police, or the staff at Target, or these imbecile police officers. And again, I have to wonder who has the disabilities, because to call the police on an individual for taking too long at the registers shows me how dysfunctional Target employees have become as related to this whole paranoia as related to shoplifting. Now, I've seen this whole trend as related to this paranoia among these retail employees as related to shoplifting, and they've gone out here looking to terrorize customers, all because they fear somebody is going to steal. And you would think that a good employee would have seen this individual having disabilities and would have gone and looked to offer some help to this individual so that they would not be taken advantage of. But instead of looking to give this young man some help, what they did was escalate things and make things worse by calling the police on a man who clearly has disabilities. And that's where I see how backwards these Target employees were. Instead of going out here and looking to help a person with clear disabilities be able to complete their purchase, they call the police on this individual, saying they're taking too long at a register, when it's the job of those employees to go out here and make sure that customers be able to understand how to use these self-checkouts. Now, these self-checkouts are complicated even for a guy like myself to go out here and use. And these self-checkouts are a nightmare even for a person of average intelligence because they're very complicated. So I can understand why this individual with disabilities was having issues, because it's very complicated to use. And this whole footage here really aggravated me because my late sister had mental disabilities, and I could imagine somebody doing that to her. And again, it would just absolutely disgust me because, again, I look at this situation and, again, shows me the lack of compassion and care as related to a customer. Now, I've worked retail in the past, and there are people who have issues, and you're supposed to look to help the customer by providing customer service, but that wasn't done here. Instead, what they did was profile this man with disabilities, call the police on him, and then these police went out here, instead of seeing, okay, this man has disabilities, identifying that almost immediately, because I could identify that by the way he was standing. I could identify that by his body language. I could identify it by the way he was talking. I could identify that this man basically was somebody who had the mentality of maybe a 5 or 6 year old and really needed somebody to provide them with emotional security and needed really somebody there to be a guardian over him. And instead of looking to protect this man from the dangers around him, what they did was further antagonize him. And I believe that the right thing was done as related to firing one of these officers and charging them, but the others need to be terminated as well. And they needed to be terminated because, again, they showed no empathy, they showed no compassion, they showed no care for someone who desperately needed care, and they showed no regard for someone who clearly was not of a sound mind. And again, I hold these police officers accountable. I hold these Target employees accountable. They have gone out here and really tarnished their whole reputation and brand of the Target Corporation. And if I were running the Target Corporation, I would be hurrying to make a settlement as related to this case, because you've already made things really bad, like Walmart recently did with these self-checkouts, where you're terrorizing your customers. And this image, again, it sullies the reputation of the Target brand and sullies Target's reputation, because this is not the way you treat a customer who is struggling as related to something like self-checkout. I mean, if you see an individual like this and you're an employee, you should be saying, hey, can I help you with that? Can I help you learn how to work these self-checkouts? Or what you do is you take this individual to a register, ring up their purchases, because this individual would not know how to handle this. Again, I'm a guy with a college degree, and I have a hard time with these self-checkouts. They are extremely complicated. They are extremely hard to use for the average American. And again, what we have are employees who wanted to play security guard and profile this individual. And again, that really, again, escalated things. And again, I hold both the Target Corporation employees accountable. I hold these officers accountable. And this is, again, reprehensible treatment. Yeah, America got a problem with shoplifters, but this is not how you treat a customer who is looking to pay. This is not how you treat people, because this is reprehensible, and there's no justification for this. And it's this type of behavior that makes me give pause before I think about giving any more money to Target or any of the businesses of the Target Corporation.
Yeah, well, Target definitely has a potential lawsuit on their hands with this. Definitely, I provide violates obviously the I would say several civil rights violations, Civil Rights Act of 1964, also the American Disabilities Act, which I think American with Disabilities Act. I can also tell you there's issues with the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures. Certainly false imprisonment because he did not commit any type of crime. Having trouble at the checkout is not a punishable offense. That is not breaking the law. And someone from Target should have come and helped the man while he's having trouble to assist him so that he can get his stuff and leave. That's how it's done. If it's something holding up the line, I've worked in retail too. If there's a problem with the line and so forth, when I was a cashier at Walgreens, you can call the manager or another teammate who will take the rest of the customers as the line builds up to knock the crowd down. That's what happens. This case, they went overboard. They got stupid. They were stupid. They're the ones with the challenges, not this man. He doesn't have the problem. They do. The police officers in Target. And I would be willing, and I would love to be the attorney on this case because I know I would have paid off my student loan bills off this settlement. I wouldn't even settle, Shawn. I would try to go to trial with it.
Yeah, get them punitive damages.
Because a jury for sure would find in our favor. A jury would as soon as they see this man, they know he has challenges. They're not going to find against him. I hope he gets I hope he gets from this money. He's going to get the kid. He doesn't need a bike. He's going to have a limo from Target. I hope it cripples him. And I know they got people at Target who had nothing to do with it, but no, this court, they need to pay for this.
Yeah, they're liable for this.
They need to pay for it. They need to apologize immediately to this man. And really, honestly, if they want to make it up, give him something for a lifetime that he doesn't have to pay for nothing when he walks in. Because this was wrong. I'll let you have the last word if you got something to say.
Well, this case, again, absolutely disgusts me. I mean, this is just, again, egregious. And again, it just shows me how twisted people are in these 2020s. I mean, I could never think of doing somebody like this at all.
No. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to wrap this up. I'm pissed yet. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I've come live usually every Thursday. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it this frequently. I believe I probably won't be on next Thursday because I'm trying to focus on other things, like I said. But I got a Facebook message from Computer Robots wanting me to talk about Michael Oher. And I decided I'd come on and do that tonight because I know you all like to hear my melodious voice. And ladies, I know y'all love taking a look at this face. God, why was I blessed with all of these, cursed with all of these good looks? But I also like hearing from Shawn and his point of view with things. So it's a pleasure to talk with y'all. Just wish I'd get some more moolah out of this. But I do this for fun. I do this for love. Shawn, what do you have any comments or anything last you want to talk about your show tomorrow? Or?
Well, the live stream is up in the air, but if you guys want to pick up some of the SJS Direct 2023 books like John Hayes 1987 and John Hayes Godbreaker, you can find them at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can find all the books on the SJS Direct imprint on Amazon.com and other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to ask you just finally in closing, Shawn. Donald Trump has been indicted out in Georgia. He also has the charges he's facing out, federal charges he's facing out in D.C. Fani Lewis is the district attorney of Fulton County out in Georgia who's pressing these charges against him. What do you think of that?
I don't think anything is going to come of it because it's looking to me like white supremacy is putting in a fix. And when it comes to Georgia, that's Trump country. So I don't think that anything is going to come of that. And the whole thing is you got all of these black women being put in front of as the face of this prosecution. So that's telling me that this case is basically looked like it's just political theater. And it looks like political theater to me because, again, if white supremacy was serious, they would go get white men to be the face of prosecution. But they got black women to be the face of prosecution, which tells me that this case is basically going to be rigged in order, again, to deter Donald Trump. Because if they really wanted to go after him, they would do like what they did with Bill Clinton, would get a white man can't star. So I'm looking at this whole thing, and it's looking like, again, a scare tactic to get Donald Trump to drop out of the race. And the whole thing is, I don't really believe anything is really going to come of it because white supremacy does not go out here and cancel out white supremacy. It's like Satan canceling out Satan. So these charges, again, they're meant to try to scare and deter Donald Trump, but he's not really fazed because he understands the dynamics of white supremacy. And since he understands the dynamics of white supremacy, he knows that they won't want to give away the goodies and giveaways as related to him because that means they won't be able to use them in the future. So look at all these charges.
Way to keep him from running. That's what they do. But in truthfulness, it wouldn't work either because there's no law that says you have to have no criminal record.
Yeah.
Run for office. Now, if he was convicted, obviously, of a high felony or treason, then yes, but that's not the case.
They haven't proven that, so they basically want to scare him. And again, if they put him in jail, that means Joe Biden and the left can't use these benefits. And white supremacy, again, does not cancel itself out. It doesn't. It's like the devil casting out the devil. And this whole thing, again, is one big piece of political theater. So I don't really see anything of it, and I really am not even fazed about it because I know the system of white supremacy, and they're not going to want to wind up losing the benefits that Donald Trump that they would take away from Donald Trump because they wouldn't be able to use them on the left. So this is just rich people on the left and rich people on the right fighting each other, and it's all one big political theater that really comes across as really bad comedy.
Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for tuning in to another edition of Gavin and Shawn Presents. Good night. Thank you all. Shout out to Cheryl, Massey, Danielle for your donations. I appreciate it. Special shout out to our queen, our friend, Miss Nicole from Nicole's View. I spoke with her earlier today, so shout out to her. What's up, Angel Barrett? Why? Don't mess with a disabled man. Yeah, they lied on him. Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap this up, y'all. But thank you, Shawn. And Shawn, if you don't mind staying on just for a minute after I go off, I just want to talk with you about something.
All right.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Angel Barrett. We got Darius from Atlanta. All of y'all who stayed with us, love y'all. Good night and God bless. Peace.
All right.